Okay.
So this is going to be a weird episode of Banditland Boulevard. We've never done this before, but back to back to back game recaps. Trevor Hauer here with Tony LaMonica, aka Boxhead98 TL. 2-1 since the last time we've done a show. Tony, I think after that Rochester game, we were a little salty.
hmm
We were a little angry at some of the stuff that happened, but then fast forward a week later, a Friday and Saturday showdown on the road between Philadelphia and the New York Riptide. We get two of those wins back. We got a lot of positives and negatives to talk about, but let's start off with that Rochester game.
Yeah, well, all we can definitely say is that what happened in the first half. You had a game style that you came out strong. You obviously had set a tone for what their weaknesses are. You were outplaying them, not outshooting, but outscoring them and playing smart defensively, staying out of the box. And then all of a sudden, after the second half started, it was like, where did it all disappear to? We lost our offense, we lost our defensive style, and we're leaving Matt Vince high and dry. And that was the reason why that based on the players that we chosen, like Connor Fields, Ryan Smith, was just taking absolute advantage of the situation while just finding a way to beat Matt Vince and finding a way to slip through our defense. And that's what happened. We ended up losing that game 15-12. I hate to bring up the thing that I had most. I predicted Buffalo was to win 15-12,
Yep,
but it got cursed and role reversed, and it got me back in that one. So shame on me for picking the exact score, but for the wrong team.
that's right. And I think one of my opinions going into this one, we're just talking about negatives because there wasn't a lot of positives in this game.
Mm-mm.
You want to talk about second half adjustments. That is exactly what Rochester did, and they did it
Mm-hmm.
extremely well. But the goaltending in that game was like we were sitting up in section 203, and we were around some Nighthawk fans. It was mostly Bandit fans up in that section, but
Mm-hmm.
one of the guys in the stands tapped my brother on the shoulder. Nighthawks fan said the high side over the shoulder has been Matt Vince's weakness since he's played for us. Like this is
Yeah.
stuff that we've seen time and time again. I mean, there were some shots like the one that Smith scored, or maybe it was Hogarth. No, it was Matt Gilray.
It
It's
was Gilray.
pick the former Bandit that scored.
Yep.
But he was running away from the net,
Mm-hmm.
opposite hand, and just lobbed it in over his shoulder. I'm like, we have to make those saves, Vino.
Yeah.
That second half was just so unlike this Bandits team. And you're seeing like Connor Fields, like underhand shots that are going in the short side. I'm like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
But we started off that game fast. We talked about fast starts on the preview for that game,
Yep.
and they did. I mean, Brad McCulley scoring and then Dane Smith scoring. He had a great game, Dane Smith. But
Mm-hmm.
we were missing our guys in Tahoka and Nanakoke a lot in that game. And I said on the preview, I want him to explode. I expect him to explode. They were shutting him down. It was just a tale of two. It was a tale of one quarter. We had
Just a
the 10-8 lead going into the fourth, and then we lost that game 15-12.
yes.
And it was just, I mean, Steve Priolo, who is our captain and our leader, we're down 12-11, and he's taking shots that are hitting the goaltender right here in the chest protector. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
we just lost our ability to score, and our defense is gassed because when we get it in the zone, we shoot it immediately, which tires out the defense, tires out Matt Vince. It was a rough game, and we heard it from these Rochester fans the whole time. They acted like they won the NLL title because they
Yep.
finally beat the Bandits, which is
Yep.
good for you guys.
Rare. Rare. Very rare.
Very, very, very rare victory. But after we go over these other two games, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you know who we're facing against next week in the 7-1-6, not the 5-8-5, and
That's
that is the
correct.
Rochester Nighthawks. But they took that game 15-12. Didn't have any answers for Smith, didn't have any answers for Thomas Hogarth. That
Mm-hmm.
defense was really turning it around in that fourth quarter, and it's a game of runs. I mean, that's it. Matt Vince didn't look his best, but he's also getting up there in age. We'll get into Matt Vince in the second half of these next two games, and it's a
Yep.
complete freaking polar opposite from what happened in
Mm-hmm.
that game against Rochester. So 15-12 loss. Fast forward actually 7 days, where
Mm-hmm.
we go to the Wells Fargo Center, home
Yep. At
of the
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia Flyers, and the Philadelphia Wings go in there and What was happening in that first half, Tony?
Well, obviously they wanted to get a feel for what changes that Philadelphia had. Don't forget, Joe Resetarits signed with them too. They got Blaze Reardon. They got a lot of former Bandits as well that knows exactly the game style we play. And Joe Resetarits is one of the guys that we have got to watch out for because God forbid he finds openings no other than man. He can play to the age of whenever. That's how good that guy is. And that's a scary thing to say about a player who can beat any goaltender in this league, especially Matt Vince.
Can we talk about a fantastic player too that Max Adler dominated in the faceoff circle and Trevor Baptiste? I mean, absolutely tore him to shreds.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough going from dominating against Rochester's face-off guy to facing off against Trevor Baptiste.
And he still did a decent job. I mean, Trevor Baptiste didn't really have any answers in that second half. Max Adler has established himself as a perfect Fogo for this team. The face-off, get-off guy. We talked a lot about that last year. And then the Bandits go, or the lack thereof of last year. And then the Bandits reach out and they grab Max Adler out of the PLL, and he's been doing wonderful things for us.
Yes, he has. I mean, you got to understand, too, when he first signed up with the Buffalo Bandits, he was shaky. He didn't know exactly what to expect. They told him,
new to box lacrosse.
30 or 40%, that will be acceptable. But he pushes himself to be better every single game, to beat the best in the game, like Trevor Baptiste, Nardella, Thornbert. I can name you some more, but Withers, too, from Halifax.
Absolutely.
Again, he himself has got the pressure on his shoulders because he has to beat them first to dictate, let me correct my speech, to dictate the outcome of the game. Pressure on the face-off guy to cause the point of origin for the Buffalo Bandits to do good or for the opposing team to do good. You got to make a stand and a statement in the face-off that.
And in that first half, he was winning face-offs. The offense was not cashing in on opportunities. That was what we saw in the fourth quarter of Rochester. I would have thought that they would come into this game pissed off and run up the score in that first half. They did get on the board first, but a guy named Blaze Reardon going back-to-back taking the lead. Joey Resetarits finding the back of the net, as he often does against us.
Scary.
He's a scary man. I mean, we got rid of him before he even reached his ceiling. That's how good he is. And he was right around like the 2013, 14, 15, maybe a little bit of 2016 during that championship run, but scary player. But they took a 6-3 lead at halftime. And I'm thinking, are you freaking serious? 3 goals in 30 minutes of play? That's a goal every 10 minutes. I'm like, Johnny, we got to make some adjustments. And the lack of adjustments in the championship game or the championship series last year was the reason why we lost. I'm like, is JT the guy that will help us adjust? What happened in that third quarter, Tony? Just tell the fans out there what happened.
Well, in the third quarter, they obviously had an earful from Johnny T. I'm sure he probably said, okay, enough is enough, guys.
He was ripping them apart in that locker room.
We need either to step it up or we got to lead. Like, do you guys want to win this game or don't you? So either it's your choice or not. I'm the only one that can stand out here in this bench. You guys have to do the work. You guys have to prove to me that you want to be here. And believe me when I say this to all the fans out there listening. And also for those of you, please don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel as well. But also getting back to what we were saying about Johnny T's speech and message to the team, play or sit. That's basically his message to them. And you know what? They all woke up in the third quarter. And not to try to sound like I'm disrespecting ESPN Plus announcers, but my God, figure out how to say their names.
You can do, Tony?
How to actually announce something. My God, me and you are probably screaming at our televisions going, what is going on with these guys? They don't
I didn't
even
have
know what
access.
they're talking about.
I had zero access to MSG last night for the Riptide game. But Jesus.
But we're talking about the Philly. But I mean, what they say about Philadelphia, but my goodness, they couldn't even pronounce their team names. And they were favoring the home team every time. And a couple of my friends were saying, well, it's the home team and they got to kind of like represent the home side.
I don't freaking care.
It's a station for both teams. It's not a station for one.
I don't freaking care.
One team.
It's
That's
ESPN.
what I got mad about.
It's ESPN.
ESPN's supposed to support all teams. I don't care if you don't like the one team, but you do like the other team, but you have to announce it down the line. If you're excited about one play for one team, you do it for the other team. It's that simple. I don't even have to go to broadcasting school to figure this out. That's what I'm saying about these guys.
No.
Call it down the middle. Fair for both. Make it exciting for both teams to go, oh, this is cool to listen to. This is great to watch. I want to be be a viewer and watch these games. But let's go back to the basics, what we were trying to talk about. That's done. But back to the third quarter.
7-goal run.
Yes, and that's what was unbelievable. Now in the stat book, it says 6. But after going before the half, we did score the third goal. That's why it was
very late. Yeah.
7-0 run. So if those of you are saying, well, they didn't score 7 goals in the third, you're right. They only scored 6.
But it carries over. It carries over. Yep.
The goal they scored the last goal in the first half to carry on to the next half. So there's your discrepancy if you guys all got confused, okay? But a 7 straight goal advantage to our boys because they said, all right, enough. We're going to come out and storm in. And these last 2 games between Philly and New York, third quarter's been their charm to say, let's do it now.
Bread and butter.
After what they did and how well they played, remember when I said Dane Smith was like a playmaker and all he cared about was assists now?
Yes, I do.
He's become our goal scorer again. I love the fire in 92 and how well he has woken this offense up. So good. Kyle Buchanan hustling to the loose balls every time they get a shot. Brandon Robinson stepping up. Dalton Solver stepping up. Max Spanger.
Tehoka is back.
Tehoka is really doing good.
Yep.
Whatever is sparking in that locker room saying, hey, we got to play. End of story. They have, and that's what they've done. They played second half lacrosse, and that's great because everyone's telling us we should play a full game. I agree with you.
100%.
But we also, when it comes down to where we need to play the game, you have got to make a stand. And they did in the second half for both straight games and winning back-to-back in Philadelphia and in New York. That's the mentality. You have to come home when you have to play Rochester the very next week.
And Trevor, that final score in Philly was 13-9. So we left the city of brotherly love with a comeback win. Mm-hmm. And then we had the back-to-back. And you mentioned the freaking ESPN Plus announcers.
Yes,
my God,
terrible.
They suck. They're so bad. They're so biased. And I have no idea how they have jobs in that field. But I digress.
Couldn't agree more.
Not only that, do they hate us, but the freaking referees. What?
Oh, boy.
I need to say this before I get into the Riptide game.
Good God.
What the hell is an illegal cross-check? What the freaking hell is a boarding penalty? How can you get a 5-minute fucking boarding penalty? How does that, okay, the referees, all I want is consistency.
We need that.
All I want is consistency. That's all I want. And you can't give that to me. I'm seeing Steve Priolo getting a 10-minute misconduct for yelling at the referee. Either you got to get some thicker skin or you shouldn't be in this business. It's so bad. The referees are so awful, and they're all like 400 pounds. I'm like, oh, my God. They can't even move. They can't even keep up with the players in the game. It's getting to a point where it's borderline unwatchable. The bias is ridiculous. If we had the homer referees that root for the home team, like they did last night in Banditland, we'd blow every team out 21-7. I mean,
something like that.
It's unbelievable. The Buffalo Bandits don't get any of the calls. I mean, it looks like, you go back to the Sabres too. They don't get any calls since 1999. Since the skate in the crease, the Sabres haven't been getting calls their way. Right. And that Dane Smith goal last night, they showed you one angle that his foot was in the crease. All the way from the back. You couldn't tell his foot went into the crease because the goalie had his stick down blocking his foot. The call on the field was a goal. They somehow saw some different angle and waved it off. And John Gertler on 1520 AM said, they're not showing us any replays. What are they hiding? How can they overturn the call? I'm like, that's just National Lacrosse League officiating, Gertz. That's all I got to say.
Pretty much, yeah. And what we have to also look at, too, is that we see the upper angle where we can look down on the goaltender.
The bird's eye cam.
Ball. That's fine. but they got to have some sort of you know what? I hate to say this, but I think they need to start putting a camera inside the net like the NHL does.
Like the
only
pylon
way,
in the NFL, like the pylon cam.
That's basically the only real way you're gonna actually tell the moment where his foot was in the crease or not, where the ball was crossed the line or not, and if whenever the whistle gone and so forth. But I think the NLL should put a camera inside the net, even though it might get pushed around every once in a while. But again, it would probably solve a lot of headaches. And I guarantee you, if that's what they would do and actually do something like that, that would be fantastic. But back to what you were saying about New York and about the McKay, I got to bring you back to McKay boarding.
The 2 minutes for boarding when he didn't even have the ball.
Okay. This is what kills me, folks. And this is not only looking out for our benefit, for our health reasons for our players, it's for all. I'm saying this because every player, regardless if it's against us or with us, you get a boarding call and they deliberately did not stop the pace of hitting you in the boards without you. You got no defense. There's nothing for you to stop.
Nope.
And we really thought we lost not only Byrne in New York, we almost lost McKay
rolled his
in
ankle,
New York.
And then we thought we lost McKay to a concussion.
Or to separated shoulder. Who knows?
Shoulder.
Because he looked like he couldn't even put any pressure on that arm.
No.
And I'm screaming to the TV, you're only giving him 2 minutes, just 2. I would have given him a 5. And that's a major. Boarding is a major penalty too.
Going head first into the boards. That's 5 in a game. 5 in a game.
You don't call that at all. I don't get why our players are like, oh, it's 2 minutes only, so let them go ahead.
No, but here's the thing.
You're going to give
freaking Steve Priolo a 10-minute misconduct for talking to the freaking referee, but you're not going to call a 5-minute major for a clear board. He didn't even have the ball. So there's no point. He's just trying to injure someone. That's deliberate, and you can throw him out of the game for that.
Mm-hmm. That's scary because guys, it's not one-sided here. You got to call things consistently down the middle. And that goes for all referees, no matter what it is. You have to stay by the book. Okay? If you're going to call one thing, make sure you do it again on the same thing. You can't just change whenever it's okay for you. Oh, I can predict that. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
It's the same thing. If boarding is boarding, call it like it is. You may not agree with it, but it's the right thing to do.
Call a spade a spade. That's all you have to do. It's not that hard. And you're lucky the game was 16-10 at the time. And Tehoka Nanakoke, what the hell did you get a penalty for? It was 2 minutes.
I didn't recall. What did you get on sports?
I think they said unsportsmanlike, but they didn't even show the replay.
So guys, you got to show, if we got to see the proof ourselves as fans, even if we're not at the game itself, but you got to do better broadcasting and follow see, here's the thing too, is that they're trying to follow where the ball is going all the time. But again, other cameras have got to watch out for any kind of suspicious
behind the scenes stuff,
behind the plays and all that other stuff. So the referees can look back and go, oh, now we can see why. Because that's what instant replay is all about. You gotta be smarter than that.
When you have a resource like replay and you still don't know how to use it, replay's ruining the game.
It's so sad.
It's ruining the game.
It's it kills us both as podcasters and for trying to give you guys the facts and details about each game. It's just, you see this happening too, and it's like, what can we say? Can we send letters to ESPN Plus? Can we send emails to these guys and
can we get John Gertler promoted, because he's very down the middle when it comes to these games.
He is. When it's broadcasting, he's always making things interesting for the opponent team, but he's making it very exciting for the home team, which
provides a ton of stats for the other team too.
Yes, and that's smart too. So I think he should get promoted.
Those
Rick
idiots
does the same thing in hockey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those idiots that did the Riptide game last night, they were calling the players by their first name. I'm like, could you be more of a Homer announcer? This is ridiculous. I can't even anymore. But luckily for us, it was a blowout victory. 16-10.
I would say.
Bandits win. Dane Smith, no Josh Byrne. He's out for he didn't even score in that first half. No goals.
Nope.
Dane Smith stepping up. Brandon Robinson, the man who's built like a defenseman but scores like a forward.
He's got sick hands too. I got to give him props.
Great hands. Tehoka Nanakoke is back. And Matt Spanger on a freaking breakaway is untouchable, and you can't tell me otherwise. Whenever he's in the clear on a breakaway, he's not missing.
Well, what I would say is that, who also stepped up their game, and amazing how they actually mentioned this about Ian McKay last night about against New York.
Player of the game.
He can play offense, he can play defense, he can play transition. And that is the one thing I'll actually agree with the announcers last night, that is actually factually true, is that he had not only 6 points, he had 4 goals himself. And that's huge for someone to step up and fill in Josh Burns' shoes after that injury. Because Josh only had 1 point against New York before his injury, and that was an apple. That was it.
No goals.
They locked him down tight, and they figured, we locked 22 down. He can't do nothing to us. Wrong. We have a roster that anyone can score on our team, and it proved against New York because look who else scored besides the main guys on our roster.
Ian McKay.
Besides Dane Smith, besides Tehoka, look who scored. Spanger had 2. Ian had 4.
Robbie had 3.
Weiss had a goal.
Robbie had 3.
Yes. Even Brandon Robinson had 3. But guys, that's the thing, is that you can stop one, but you can't stop them all. That's how great our offense is right now.
And one of the things, rare W to the guys in the broadcast booth last night who had absolutely no clue what they were talking about. They did say one other good thing. They said that, listen, guys, this team is so banged up, but the fact that they can score over 10 goals consistently a night is scary to the rest of the league.
Yeah.
And they do a very good job at developing these young players and put them in these depth roles, and they succeed.
Over and over.
Tony, no Josh, no Frazier, no Kluche, it's Justin Robinson. No Justin Robinson. You have no Frankie Brown. No Nathaniel Koznikov or whatever his name is.
I knew for a fact that I'm not laughing because of it. I'm just laughing because I would have probably screwed up his last name too.
We got to see some action out of him.
Nathan, we're sorry. We apologize because we cannot pronounce your last name.
I need Chris Swenson I need you to play so Chris Swenson can announce your name and I can remember it. But we're missing 7 starters. And this team is scoring 16 goals. It's against the Riptide, but on this show, we don't take teams lightly. And 6-2 now, back-to-back wins on back-to-back. Those are hard things to do in the NLL. One of the most physical, in-your-face kind of sports. Back-to-back days are not usually in your favor. But when you go in and you beat them both, it's a huge adrenaline rush, especially going up against one of your arch rivals next week in your home barn against the Rochester Nighthawks.
Yeah, but also we got to think about the fact that you would think the Bandits would play Shanahan one of these games. I really thought for sure that maybe he would have gotten a shot against New York, but Vince said, I got this. I may be old and I may have the experience, but I'll tell you what, though, I have the drive that I want to still win a championship for the Buffalo Bandits. And boy, I got to give props out to Matt Vince. He stays calm as much as possible. Yes, he got beat against Rochester. He allowed 15. Yes, he got close to getting beat against Philadelphia because, again, we all thought, here we go again. We're not going to have a great weekend. But he hung in there, and everyone's telling me too on the Bandits Mafia page or on the other pages out there.
The defense is getting slaughtered on that page.
But Vince is keeping them in this game, in every game. You got to just make sure to not be doubtful of our goaltender. Our goaltender is fine, guys. All right, stop saying these things. We need a new goaltender. We need something fresher. But
blow up the defense. I'm like, what are we talking about here?
If Matt Vince is hanging tough every single game for this team, he's not the problem. The defense has got to wake up and play smarter. Means stop with everyone's looking at the guy with the ball because there's someone behind you for an open net shot.
Like Dylan Robinson and Justin Martin. I mean, those guys have been struggling hard on that defense.
They have because it's like flat foot, cement foot. They got to stop staying still. They got to move. They got to make sure they're on somebody. Man-on-man coverage for the 5-on-5. It's that simple, guys. You stay locked on a dude. You stay with him until it's over, until the play goes back to the offense. But
if you have to switch it up. but you got to switch
Yeah.
fast.
If they do that pick and roll kind of move, the one guy takes the guy in the pick, the other guy takes control with the other guy with the ball. That's that simple. But you do not give him a shooting lane. That's all you got to do. Even though Jeff Teat had a spectacular night again against Buffalo,
and
so
stud,
did Sundown,
by the way.
and so did Sundown. Sundown is dangerous, but again, we cannot allow ourselves to let the fast feet beat our flat feet. We need to move with them. Don't give them enough space, because that little bit of gap is going to give them enough room to get that shot off, and Matt Vince might save it or he might not. So again, got to play tighter defense.
I mean, Tony, we are banged up defensively, but when I saw Brent Noseworthy fly past our defense to score that first goal, I'm like, what in the actual you-know-what is going on with this defense?
No.
I'm like, that is ridiculous. Scared. Brent Noseworthy, who's an enforcer, not really the fastest guy on the field, but I'm like, are you freaking serious right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I mean, that was like shades of the fourth quarter against Rochester bad in the start of that game, but
yes, it was.
You know what we did? We turned it around. Dane Smith is shooting the ball more. And I seriously hope Josh Burns okay. I'm praying it's not a high ankle sprain. If we have any inside information, we will post it to Bandits Mafia, but I hope it's not a high ankle sprain. But at least we do have the depth in Brandon Robinson.
Yep.
Would I love to have Josh Burns back against Rochester? Absolutely. But if it's risking him long-term injury, like it was with Frazier and Kluche. Kluche still is out indefinitely. We don't know when he's coming back, but
correct.
Frazier could come back anytime now.
Soon. He can come soon.
Frank Brown could come back soon.
Is this the week we see Chase back? That would be sick.
If it's against Rochester, I think he wants to play that game. He wants to play that game. I think
so too. I really do.
And we got to see Frankie Brown out there. I mean, this defense would be a lot better with big, bad Frankie Brown out there. The physicality that he brings, just the big body, and he shoots the ball too. We need a offensive defenseman as well, other than Ian McKay. Well, Ian McKay can play any position on the field.
Yes, he
probably
can.
Excluding goalie, because why would we ever do that? But
the
defense is my only thing with this team right now. I mean, you look at the rosters that San Diego has. If we played them last night, I think we're talking about a different recap. That team is
probably.
We got to stack up on defense to be able to potentially compete with teams in the championship round like San Diego. Colorado, who brought back their same roster they did last year, that was a team we really should have beat. I mean, these guys are not that good. Colorado is not a really good team, but we just had the defensive breakdown in the championship. That's why we lost.
That's right.
They brought back everyone, and it's not that good, guys. We have the pieces on this team to go to very, very far and potentially win way more championships and drop way more banners if we just stick to what works and play man defense.
That's right. And also another thing about our defense too, and really the last two games, who really stepped up for the Buffalo Bandits, it's got to be the new guy, Adam Bomberry. He's one. I mean, he may not be the fastest defenseman out there, but boy, oh boy, does that man know how to push somebody around.
He's a menace.
I have to say, when he wants to create turnovers, he definitely uses his body weight to like make sure that happens. And boy, does when he gets to that loose ball, or he forces a loose ball, he's the first one to get it. And boy, and that's the thing too, is that I'm having him on this team and adjusting from being from Albany to us. I think his game has just turned a little bit to the positive notch side, going even better. And honestly, I'm very excited to see what 1-5 can do for us on the defensive side from here on in. I don't think did he play against Rochester?
No, he was inactive for that game. Yep, he was a healthy scratch. Yep.
So guess what? I think they're going to allow him to play against them, and I think his toughness is going to change the mood when they come here to the 7-1-6.
And also, talk about the deadline. The Bandits have to be spenders at the deadline. This team could go back to the championship without a doubt. Johnny Tavares still has something to coach for. He's consistently getting this team to the playoffs. Ridiculously good records going to the playoffs. This is not a coaching issue. I don't want to hear anything about, oh, John Tavares, blah, 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 blah. He's so good at being a player. He can get us there, but he can never get us over the hump. You also got to think about the general managing, too. I mean, proving that, I keep going back to this, and I hate doing it, but we're winning without Chase Frazier. We're winning without Chris Kluche. Why couldn't we just protect Connor Fields and let one of them go? I mean,
Eh,
just saying. We would be elite right now. I guarantee we'd be miles past Rochester if we still had 5 in the orange and black. But anyway, we're beyond that. I'm looking at a guy to save his, I guess, his player morale, I guess you can say. Why don't we try to trade for a guy like Joey Rezateritz at the deadline? Try to
that,
trade for a Blaze Reardon, bring them back for a potential championship run.
that would be a good idea to try to get one of those two guys back, because I'm sure Blaze would love to be a part of the Chaos Crew, aka the Buffalo Bandits again.
Definitely.
But I mean, the other thing is that too is that if they're comfortable with the guys that they have, they're going to work with it until the day it's over. And that's basically if they make to the championship again or not. We won't know unless it's their decision to make. But again, like you said, would it be good to have Joe Rezateritz or Blaze Reardon or someone else? But I mean, we didn't even see what's his name, Taylor, out there
No.
at all playing. That's
No.
another guy we didn't even see playing. Why aren't they playing him more often?
Exactly.
So again, maybe this is because of the situations that I don't know. Is this a sign of trade players to come, or we don't know that? But again, we got to, it all depends on the players themselves. If they want to get out there and they want to play and they want to win, good. If they want to go out there and just play and think it's okay just to be like, hey, I'm in the spotlight. Well, it's not just that. You're representing a team, you're representing a city that we've been waiting for since 2008. We want a championship back.
Yep.
Well, we've been waiting patiently, and that goes for all Buffalo sports too. And it's like, listen, we understand you won 4 before, but that is a completely different system than it is right now.
Yep.
It's more competitive. It's more, it's very close to everything else there is. It wasn't like a breeze since back when
you have more superstars in this NLL than ever before.
Exactly. Take advantage of it.
Yep. And I think we were a little too hush-hush last year at the deadline because we were pretty banged up on defense, especially after that home Riptide game. That was when the wheels came off defensively, when we lost Robbie for the rest of the season. We didn't make a move at the deadline to stock up on a D guy. We traded to get Adam Bomberry, which is absolutely fantastic. Marcus Miniciello, good luck in Philadelphia, but you were taking up a roster spot, my friend. Good luck to you, but I think the move was long overdue to cut ties with him. But you know what? If you want to be a championship team, you go out and I think you try to risk giving up a little bit of something for a potential rental player in Joey Rezateritz. This guy, like I said before, 2014, when we made that run in the division round against the Nighthawks, I think we lost in that 10, back when they had like the 10-minute mini game, whatever, as the game 3. He was so good for us that year. Him and Mark Stainhouse were amazing. And that was right before like Joey Rezateritz found his actual like skill. That was when he was still rising. And we're like, you know what? This is his ceiling. We'll trade him or we'll let him go to free agency, whatever the case was. And every time he faces us, he's that thorn in our side. So if you can bring that guy back as an extra spark, it's not like he doesn't know the organization. He's been on this team for over 3-4 years. I'm sure you'd like to have another shot winning the championship because I don't think you have a good shot at least, unless they turn things around quick in the Philadelphia Wings.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams and a lot of players, or let me scratch that. A lot of players have also wanted to say, hey, we got to go to the top prospect teams, and we want to say, well, is New York going to be a winning team? Maybe. We'll see maybe in the near future. Is Philadelphia going to be?
They got to get a fan base first, Tony.
Well,
New York's got to get a fan base. Wow.
And it was terrible, too, watching them, and it didn't look like they were interested at all, except for the kids that were at the game, standing up and cheering for the team. But everyone else was like, man, on their cell phones, not caring about this game. Then why go?
Bandit fans made it, though.
Of course, shout out to Dennis Gore and Brian Kuna for going to the game.
Yes.
For both Philly and both New York. And you guys got to see a good win. But let's get back to the stats on hand. Let's talk about, first and foremost, we can't really say anything good about the Rochester game, obviously, because we lost.
Yeah.
But we can obviously think positive now that we got back on a 2-game winning streak from Philly and from New York. So
half a game back again behind Rochester. We're in the same spot.
Who would you say for the Philadelphia game was your go-to guy?
Go-to guy, Philly, Tehoka Nanticoke. Revenge game. Okay. I mean, that was when he came back and exploded. And I forgot to give out this stat. The last 2 second halves, Matt Fitz has given up 6 goals. Do you know how freaking incredible that is? He gave up
That's
6
sick.
goals in the fourth quarter, 7 goals against Rochester in the fourth quarter. The last 2 games in the second half, he's given up 6 total goals.
That's sick.
Unbelievable.
I mean, kudos to Matt Vince for not only recapping himself as a goaltender that he should be reckoned with, but also to get his confidence back up to get this team back on the winning track. So my go-to guy for the Philadelphia game is obviously Matt Vince. It was because he dialed up, he locked it down, and then he definitely kept the Buffalo Bandits into the game. And that's the thing you need. You need a goaltender who's going to keep you in the game. And it'd be like, hey, guys, that's to me, that's the wake-up call for an offense to go, okay, now it's our turn to score. And they did.
Yeah, and they did. But New York, Mickey. Hey, Mickey definitely was my player of the game.
I'm not even going to disagree with you on that. I was also going to say McKay, but I can also say one other player too, and that is to our good assistant captain, Dane Smith. Not only did he get 7 assists, not only did he get 7 assists, he also got 4 goals to capitalize his 11-point night, especially when Josh Byrne got knocked down. That's a big step up for him. And this also opens up the door for potential other players to step up their game. Like you said, Brandon Robinson. You got Ian McKay, who also did very well. You got Kyle Buchanan, even though he didn't score, but he is just digging for those loose balls and getting those apples. And boy, if it was me to be a player of the game, it would be him.
Definitely. And I think we wrapped it up perfectly because we don't have very much time left.
Nope.
You know what? Buy your tickets. Bandits, Nighthawks. We're 6-2. They're 6-1. We're a half a game back. If we win next week, we take first place again. We're in the same spot as we were just a week ago. Get your tickets now. It's going to be a freaking bloodbath. I think it's going to be like the Roman Coliseum. The Bandits want to win this game.
Yes, they
do. Fans, I hope it's 19,000 people. We're going to get their revenge on Rochester. And I just have a simple sentence here to wrap up.
Well, before we do say that sentence, we want to keep reminding those who are watching our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'd love to hear your input on our statistics and our knowledge about the sport. We also like to hear from you personally to say, hey, if you guys want to jump on board and become a part of the show itself, we would love to have new welcomers on board. Also, for those of you listening on our Spotify app too, on Spotify.fm, we love hearing from you. We'd love to hear your comments. Please give us a good star rating. We would love to hear more from you. And also, if you guys got any questions or comments, or you guys want to chime in every once in a while, please, guys, don't be shy. We'll be more than happy to let everybody know, especially on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify itself, and also YouTube.com.
Well said. One thing to say, Tony.
One more.
Let's go Bandits.
Let's go.
Let's go.